Good morning, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Nikki Freeman, and I'm the Director of Education at the Holocaust Memorial Miami Beach. On behalf of the Holocaust Memorial, I'd like to welcome you to Messages from Survivors with Lori Weissman and Roz Jacobs, the co-founders of the Memory Project Productions. This event is part of the Holocaust Memorial's ongoing series of educational programming taking place during Holocaust Education Week. These programs are sponsored by the Florida Department of Education, the State of Florida Department of State, Division of Arts and Culture, and the City of Miami Beach Cultural Affairs Program, Cultural Arts Council. I would also like to give a special thank you to the Greater Miami Jewish Federation for their ongoing support. Messages from Survivors grew out of a trove of survivor videos recorded over 40 years by Lori and Roz. Survivors' voices anchor Holocaust history and make it vivid and personal. And today's presentation provides an intimate look at a family of Holocaust survivors, sharing their history, their life challenges, and their celebrations. So we're going to watch the videos. It's about 40 minutes. And then afterwards, I'll introduce Lori and Roz, ask them a few questions, and then we'll open it up to questions from the audience.
Thanks so much, Nikki.
Thanks. Feel free to start the video, Ari.
A great time making a movie. For once in my life, I'd be on TV like a big actress. So you like the dress? What I just said, huh? So, what do you want to know? Well, I'm Anja Huberman, now Jakubowicz Jacobs. I was born in Poland in a city named Wrocławek. And my parents their name was Rosa and Froim. I was one of 3 children. I had a brother and a sister. My sister was older than I was, about 2.5 years, and my brother was younger by 2.5 years. I was a middle child. As children, I remember we were always busy reading a lot, doing homework, writing, and on Shabbat we used to get together with other friends and singing and dancing.
My mother loved life. She exuded warmth. She loved to have fun. She loved people. She was a great storyteller with an incredible memory, and she was so affectionate. We grew up with whatever family survived and a community of survivors that were tight. But something was very dark in her past, and little by little, she shared pieces of it with me. Only because I asked and asked. I was the kind of kid who just had to know, and luckily she was willing.
We were scared for the Germans because we heard stories what were happening to the Jewish people in Germany, the evacuations and grabbing their belongings, whatever they had, they chased them out of the houses. So we were scared. A lot of young people were escaping they were trying to get more to the Russian zone. Some young people were hiding, especially men. For a while they were taking men to work for all kind of hard work, and the fear was constantly there. We didn't know what's going to happen.
What prevented people from just escaping?
So what prevented us from going someplace else? We couldn't believe in bad things. We felt right now, at the beginning of 1939, the Germans came in, they want this, they want that, but everything will settle and then everybody will be able to go back to work and live their life. It's not easy when you have a home and a life to leave everything and go. Go where?
I was in my I see the girls are filming me. They only want I should be a star. Tomorrow morning they're leaving. And you know what? They're spoiling me here.
So, Mom, do you mind answering all these questions?
No. We shouldn't forget what happened. Because with that we continue to remember, we give a message to the world, don't let it happen again. No place, in no country.
We had two big synagogues in our town. That was in 1939 still, but right after Rosh Hashanah, the Germans burned all our synagogues. The following day, when we heard what was happening in the city, so many people got arrested and some were killed. A lot of people started to prepare themselves to leave the town. And we were starting to pack our belongings and to go, but meantime, the Germans evacuated a part of our town to other cities. They came in to my court where I live, in my building that I live. They took all the Jews out, myself and my grandmother, and my aunt and my cousin. From the whole town, they divided the town in half, and whoever lived in that half of the town was taken in the middle of the night. They gave you only 5 minutes to take whatever you could. You had to get dressed, and you scared, and you get dressed. I was young, I was 13 and a half years old, whatever I could dress. I remember my grandmother grabbed the flowers, the plants that we had in the house, and gave it to a Polish neighbor. She didn't know that she would come back, that they shouldn't die. And whatever she could grab for ourselves, she grabbed, I remember, a pillowcase, and she threw in rice and sugar and whatever packages we had, food, she threw in.
Germans came into the apartment?
Yeah.
Germans came in and said,
Raus. 5 minutes. And we came to this place like a farmer's market. All the Jews were there. And then they marched us to near the train station, like a big hall. There we stayed overnight. The following day, they put us on trains, cattle trains, and they shipped us to another town, to central Poland, a very little town called Ozhov.
Variations of Anna's story happened all over, from tiny villages to large cities. Millions of people were rounded up and taken from their homes to ghettos, forced labor camps, and concentration camps. Of course, my mother didn't want to talk to me about what she endured, but as I grew up, she told me stories in bits and pieces, how much she loved her family and how she never saw them again. I imagined it all as a movie, and she was the star of it, but it was all too real. I'll never know a fraction of what she went through, but I'm grateful for everything she shared. It wasn't easy for her, but as always, her warmth and humor carried us all.
The other pictures You're right. Yeah. Is that
so
still
proud of
working?
Yeah, we're so proud
Is it still working?
Why not?
I don't see the
I
light
mean-
on.
I mean, when you kissed me, it is still showing?
We want to be in the movie too. Can't have you be the only star.
You're not dressed right.
This picture we made intentionally. We should have something left to show the future how we were dressed, how we had this big Star of David on our heart. We could not move around without the Star of David.
We had to wear them.
And what would happen if you didn't wear it?
You get shot on the spot.
The Germans tried to create for the Jewish population a ghetto. However, there was not enough place to put all the Jews in one street or two streets because Berlin was destroyed from the first bombardment. So they created a few restricted areas. And one of those restricted areas they called the ghetto on the Colonial Street. And we moved into 1 or 1.5 room. The whole family was us 5 children, a mother and father, and we lived down there till the first day after Passover. They came in with trucks to our restricted areas. Usually they came in only for males. At that moment, we saw the trucks. My sister, Rivka, took the key from the basement. She hanged up a lock on the basement and she let in my father, Morris, and Henry in the basement. And they stayed outside, thinking it only come in for the male people. And I saw the trucks loading up people, male, female, children, everybody. I realized what's going on. This was our bad day when they took away my mother, my sister, Rivka, and my brother, Yitzchak.
How can I explain? I cannot explain. There are no words to explain. To being ripped apart from your loved ones. Here you are alive, and here they are gone.
There was a rumor again, the story that they're going to come grab men to send away to labor camps. We hid in a hiding place in our apartment. We went to not a fancy hiding place, but enough to not to be seen right away. And my mother and my sister and my brother stayed because they didn't figure they're not going to bother them. But the fact is that they took him away.
And the worst, what happened is when we came up, when we saw in the kitchen the table was unfinished breakfast. This was just, we were all going crazy.
Later we found out they took the people on trucks, which were gassed on the trucks. And there was, the Germans was the first try how to do mass exterminations.
What was the circumstance around taking the picture?
We figured we better take some pictures for posterity. We will have something to show from where we come from and who we are. We'll be the ones to tell the world what happened to us.
And so we went to a Polish photographer, because the Jewish photographers were already not allowed to take pictures. And we just ideas, in case we are separated, we should have pictures of us. We didn't know where we're going to wind up.
And I noticed there's a rip in the picture, in the original picture.
Well, because, you know, for carrying it in the pockets and changing the clothes and being in different camps, you know, it's a miracle that it survived anyway. In Wieluń, Poland, where the population was approximately in the 20,000, 27, 28,000, a third of the population was Jewish. I don't know if 200 people survived. And we were the only foreign citizens of the whole town who survived. I never could understand how a cultural people like the German people could vote for a regime, a dictatorship, which destroy other minorities. This I could never understand up to date. This should be a lesson for the future, for our children, grandchildren. Always to stand up for liberty, for dignity. They should vote always in liberal people, not people that have in mind to destroy other minorities.
We value life because of the fact what happened to us. We just knew we have love for each other, and we carried it with us to be proud of it. And we implanted this on our children, same thing. Knowing the meaning of life is love.
start to say something about 1938, when in Poland we had a lot of anti-Semites, and the Jewish people were really very, very oppressed, and especially young children, they did not feel that the Polish people, the Polish children, are friends with them, and the parents were also afraid that something soon will happen to the Jews, and everybody was talking about it. In 1938, I remember already that were a lot of Jewish stores boycotted. They were going around, like people here go on strike with signs, they're going around, they didn't let in people to buy in Jewish stores. They're like, we boycott Jewish stores. Those incidents I remember very well. And that's why also a lot of Jewish people were trying to move to go, the younger people, who said it's not a place for us, we have to go to Palestine and build our new life there. My father also decided to go to Palestine. They liquidated whatever he had.
My mother's father, my grandfather, sold everything to go to Palestine. But when he got to the port, he met a family coming back. They said life was too difficult there. My grandfather made the fateful decision to stay in Poland. He found work in Warsaw, and everyone but my mother and her grandmother joined him in Warsaw. My mother was 14, and she remained at home to finish her semester at school. And then the war broke out.
When the Germans came in, they had no opposition, nobody fought them back. They started right away with the Jews. Right away with signs all over, plastered. Jews are not allowed to walk after that hour. We had to put a yellow thing on our
Triangle?
like a triangle. We had to have it on our front of our dress and on the back. Jews were not allowed to walk on the street, but in the gutter. If anybody was caught, was killed immediately. The Germans evacuated a part of our town to other cities. They put us on trains, cattle trains, shipped us to a very little town called Orzhov. Now, when we came to that little town, the Jews there were flabbergasted. They didn't know what to do with us. They had no space, they had no...
Just let you off the train and...
No, they brought us in the middle of the city, and they said to whoever was there, a Jewish congregation, you have your Jews and deal with them. And those people were trying to help us as much as they could. Everybody took a family to their house overnight, and the rest they took to the synagogue. They were sleeping on benches until they got arrangements for them. For myself and my grandmother, we didn't stay long in this town. We stayed a couple of weeks, and we went to Warsaw. We took a horse and buggy to a next little town which was on the river, on the Vistula. From the Vistula there were boats going. And we stayed overnight and we booked a passage to Warsaw. At that time, Jews could still travel. They were harassed. There were not good times while traveling. The Germans were coming in. And when they saw a Jew, they were harassing, they would take away whatever belongings they had. And the Polish people were harassing the Jews also. They were not so nice to them. But finally we came to Warsaw. We joined my parents, and most of the family was in Warsaw. Now, a lot of people were coming into Warsaw from all the little towns. They were like, we escaped. So there was no apartments. This time was no ghetto yet. That was 1940. So the people had to take in boarders from other town people who came. The Jewish people had to give them place to live. So instead to have a stranger, my aunt took us in. And we had a room, and it was okay. And then the hardship started.
can't say a tomato like this. Look at those tomatoes. Boy, oh boy. Comes back a lot of memories, boy, oh boy. Those tomatoes. Yeah, the tomato, whenever I eat a good, really good tomato, ripe, it's ripe, I remember one thing. At least you got to listen to this story because you only can repeat it once. I don't like to talk about it.
My father, Jack, was a Holocaust survivor from Poland. His town, Wieleń, was the first town to be bombed by the Nazis. It marked the beginning of World War II. Bombs fell at 5 a.m., hours before war had been declared. Very quickly, Jewish lives were disrupted. They had to wear the Star of David on their clothing. They had to live in restricted areas and were forced into labor. They weren't even allowed to walk on the sidewalk. There were roundups where Jews were taken from their homes and sent to their deaths. In April 1942, my father's youngest brother, sister, and mother were captured by the Nazis and killed in one of those roundups. In August, the rest of the Jews in Wieleń were rounded up for the final liquidation of the town. My father, his father, and brothers managed to escape to a Polish city called Częstochowa. It was occupied by Germany, but still under Polish authority. So after you escaped from Wieleń, you were living in a Jewish ghetto in Częstochowa, right?
Correct. For a few weeks.
You lived there for
A few weeks, I would say between 3 and 5 weeks.
So why did you go into hiding?
Hiding became in the day, became in special police. So when they
Rumors, you saw that they
we started rumors that they're here, they came in. Because they came in, that they have occupied certain buildings, so we know it's trouble.
In fact, at that very moment, deportations began and 40,000 Jews in Częstochowa were rounded up and forced into cattle cars. They were taken to the death camp Treblinka and murdered. An estimated 2,000 more Jews were killed on the spot. The 5,200 who survived were forced into a small ghetto, leaving the larger ghetto abandoned. Jack, his brothers and father hid in the abandoned ghetto.
We looked around for a place where to hide. Me and my father, Henry and Morris, we got in the attic and we pulled over a closet and we closed up the entrance from the outside. Some other people saw where we went to the attic and they went after us. We got in 14 people, isolated from the world, completely. No radio, no television, no nothing.
The Nazis combed the ghetto for people who were hiding. Whoever they found was shot.
What we did, we left the closets open so there should not be too much problems to open the drawers. And we heard them as soon as they came up on the steps. Everybody had to be very quiet. I remember we had a 3-year-old child, actually it was 2 children, 3 years old. And my father put his hand on the mouth of the child. The child should not make a scream. This kid was so trained already, they knew already. As soon as we heard walking something, he put his hand on his mouth, not to make any noises, any screams, because a little scream, a little noise, all will be taken out and sent away or killed. The living in it was indescribable. How 14 people can live, a limited amount of food, squeezed together, very little air even, was very terrible, very bad.
While we was trying to live down there in this hole, they call it, the attic, we couldn't get food enough. But the Jews was baking like small, like called verfelig. And this was the dry food. You know, you could eat without cooking, nothing. But later on, we saw it's trouble. We're running out of those verfelig. But we found a lot of kasha, a lot of all kind of. We got to cook something. But cook was dangerous to cook because the smoke. In the night, we pushed away the closet. Me and Henry mostly went down and looked around for food. And the end from our house was a garden. In the garden was everything that at that time was the tomatoes very ripe. And the only thing what we found ripe is tomatoes. When we brought up the tomatoes, it was a picnic. This was the best taste I ever ate tomatoes. Now, whenever I eat tomatoes, I remember about those times. This is the story of the tomato.
It started to get very, very bad in Warsaw. They started to push the people together and creating a ghetto. It were very, very difficult times. Everybody was hungry. It was no food. Whatever we had, my mother could sell it and have money to buy food, a little bit linen, a ring, a piece of jewelry, silver, to buy food. And that didn't last for too long. It was really very difficult. My sister, her boyfriend's parents had a bakery, so she went to work there and she brought home a few rolls. People had it worse even, so we had a little bit of food. But my brother was the only one who really supported the whole family. He was young and he was going on a market selling whatever he could buy for a little money and to sell with a profit and bringing home the money, supporting the family. Everybody was hungry. It was not such a thing. Even if you had money, even if you still have a little money, you could buy it. But it was not much that you can buy. So the main thing when you can buy is the bread or something, potato, something. But people were dying from hunger, and being in the ghetto, every time they made ghetto smaller, and they pushed in more people to the ghetto. So it became a bigger hunger, and no place where to live. It was crowded, it was hard, there was no food, it was depressing, inside of the house and outside of the house. You got so even used to what you saw on the streets. When I think of it, it's unbearable to think of it today. You saw today young children lying on the streets, and tomorrow you saw them covered with a newspaper. Because they starved. The bellies were big, and the hands and the legs were skinny like sticks. And that you see, so in every corner, wherever you went in the ghetto, there was starvation and typhus, sickness. It was just impossible to explain. I don't believe it myself. I can't believe it that I went through this whole thing. And people were trying to get out. Yeah, and I did it. I don't know, I was lucky, I guess, or unlucky.
I often asked my mother how she could go on after what she went through. She just said, I took the little bit of love that I had left and went with that.
decided that since I don't look Jewish, I will get out of the Warsaw Ghetto and get to a little town that people from our Slavic were evacuated to. This is a little town that you could go out still to farmers or to do some work for them, and that's what we decided to do. When I said goodbye, my sister was very excited about it. She said, this is one at least can get away from here. My mother, on the other hand, didn't believe that we ever will see each other again. So she cried. So I escaped from the Warsaw Ghetto. I had a Polish family who helped me out to get over. Was a wall. There were in the ghetto some places that a half of a court was Jewish, the half of the other court was Polish. In between was a wall. And the Polish people, the Jewish people, used to do some business along. There were vegetables they were throwing over, and they were throwing money back. They were doing business. On the other side of the wall, there used to live a woman. She had a Jewish boyfriend. Jewish boyfriend lives on this side, and she lived on the other side. Now, this woman was from Wrocław, from my hometown, and I knew her. And I came to the wall one day and wrote her a note that I want to leave. And we talked also to the wall. There were little openings, you know, that we could see each other. So we made a date, and some people pushed me over the wall, and she waited on the other side with her brother. Her brother called me. I had a little suitcase with me, and that's how I went over the wall to the other side. She took me up to her house. We waited till the evening. In the evening, she went with me. She took me to the station, bought for me a ticket. She waited till I went on the train, and that's how I got out from the Warsaw Ghetto. It was very crowded. There was no place where to sit. I was standing all the way through. There was a young boy who came over to me, was talking, and he wanted I should not go to that town, I should come to his town to stay there. A non-Jewish fellow. He didn't know that I'm Jewish, you know. So, but I was trying really to talk as little as possible. He shouldn't somehow find out that I'm Jewish, because I was not supposed to be on the train. Jews were not supposed to travel. So I said, no, I come to visit you. At this time, no Jews were traveling. They were not allowed to, and they didn't. They were afraid. From the station to that little town, there was like an hour walk. I had a very small suitcase with me, just a few things, change clothes. But I scraped my foot walking. Wasn't used to walk so much. And I got a blister on my foot. Got infected. And I had to be operated on it. I had a very hard time. I couldn't walk. So I came into people. I mean, they were from my hometown. There was a girl who was my girlfriend and her parents. So they had one room, and it was a small kitchen. There were 6 children, and a father and a mother. And in the kitchen was an aunt and an uncle without children, a very small kitchen. And I came to them, they took me in. When I think sometimes we have so many rooms now, and you know, if somebody comes, we have no place where to put them because we have only 2 bedrooms and they need 3 beds. I'm thinking, my God, we're laying 4 children in one bed, in a small, narrow bed, 2 at head and 2 on the footboard. So that's how I got there, and I had a very hard time, and being that I got so sick, couldn't even help my parents, my family in Warsaw. And until I started already, the Warsaw Ghetto was liquidated, and I didn't know when they were liquidated, where they went, what day, and how they perished. It was a very depressing time for me because I knew that time that this was it.
Between July and September 1942, the Nazis deported approximately 300,000 Jews from the Warsaw Ghetto to the Treblinka killing center. That September, my mother, Anna, was captured along with other Jews in Ozorów. They were transported to a German forced labor camp in Skarżysko, Poland. Nazi forced labor.
So it's my Is it not over?
There is about 7 minutes left.
Oh yeah, of course.
There was so much about my parents' lives I didn't know about. I just knew I had to record them, starting with audio in the late 1970s and then videotape. They talked and we recorded for over 100 hours over many decades. Through the years and questions, through good times and tough times, they shared what happened to them. They found each other in the darkest of times. They met in camp, not camp as I understood it, but a Nazi forced labor camp in Poland, where men and women worked together as slave laborers day and night in 12-hour shifts.
There in camp I was for 3.5 years. I was 3 years in that particular camp, Skarżysko. We were making ammunition. And there were very, very bad times. We were hungry, we had no clothes, we had no food, it was cold, a lot of young people really were killed just for no reason at all. Some people got sick, they were right away taken and killed. And we used to protect one another in camp. If somebody from our friends who were working together got sick, we used to hide them and work for them, protect them. And one helped the other. And this was the place where I met my husband, who worked not far from me. I mean, in the same place, but a few machines away. I used to like to talk to him because he was more knowledgeable about what's going on the outside. He had a contact with some non-Jewish people that brought him some newspapers to read, and he used to tell us and really give us hope of survival.
I will make a speech. Wait.
Wait.
All right, everybody, pay attention.
It's how I met my Bescherte. You know what I shared?
Destined one. Destined one.
Destined one. I met my Bescherte by working in concentration camp on the night shift. I saw a woman's head standing high above the machines. It was a blonde-haired head. I got closer to the blonde-haired head, and I really couldn't take my eyes off her. One day, and I saw her in the locker room. I got near her, and I threw her a kiss. After this kiss, was no end to it. She started looking on me, and I was looking on her. We started making plans. After the war, we got to get together.
Part of what Daddy said was true.
Only
But he left certain things out. What was that? He caught me in the courtroom and he grabbed me and he kissed me. And from day on, I never went into that court. I was afraid that he would catch me again.
And it is the biggest diamond in the world. It's a cement, a glue, what holds all the family together all those years. That's why we have love for each other. We respect each other.
I'm in love with you, you. All the dreams that come true. I'm in love with you. I will do anything to help you. Anything. Sunshine, my only sunshine. You make it
And it
when
happened
skies are gray.
were liberated, I looked around her. She took off. She was scared the Germans would crack. She went away from the Germans, marching day and night, away from the place we were liberated. I was waiting for her for 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, I took my brothers behind from the Russian guy, a little horse. Started going together. In 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I found out that she's back to Czestochow. I sent a love letter to her. Please come to us. I had already a job. I couldn't go away. This guy was going here in about 60 kilometers to Czestochow. I gave her the letter. She read the letter. She decided to come to me together. This was the winter time. The winter time. Uphill, I was pushing the bicycle.
Down the hill, I sat on the train and we were riding. So that's
In the snow?
snow, ice.
That's how she came to us, together. Naturally, my brothers welcomed her, and I welcomed her the most. And she was like in the mishpocha, immediately. This was the whole family.
Wow, what an amazing series of short films. I was getting a little emotional at the last one. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. So it's my honor today to introduce Roz Jacobs and Lori Weissman. A little bit about the two of them. Roz Jacobs is the founder and creative director of the Memory Project Productions. She's a New York City painter whose work is exhibited in galleries and museums around the world. Her film projects include the award-winning Finding Kalman, and her book, Finding Kalman, A Boy in 6 Million, was co-written with her mother, Anna Jacobs, who we saw in the film we just watched. Lori Weissman is the founder and executive director of the Memory Project Productions, and she's had a 30-year career in educational publishing. She's led teams that produced award-winning film programs at Sesame Street Workshop and Scholastic, and was an editorial director at Time for Kids and a producer of multimedia programs at Bank Street College of Education. Thank you two for joining us today.
Thank you very much for inviting us.
Of course. So this project is amazing. My first question for the two of you is, can you tell us a bit about the creation of this project? With 40 years of film footage, how did this project develop over time?
Thank you. First of all, thank you very much for having us here. And this is the world premiere. This is the first time that we're showing this project to the public. So thank you all for being here. We started doing this work in 2006. It was originally mainly an art project. Roz had wanted to show people the creative process, how paintings are made, all the steps that go into them, all the things that are destroyed along the way. And she chose as a subject her Uncle Kalman, who is the little boy who gets referenced in the picture. And I can show you his beautiful little face here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so we created a multimedia exhibit that premiered in Boca Raton, actually, at the JCC there when her parents and all their friends were alive in 2006. At this point, you know, they're gone. Her mom died in 2008, her dad died in 2016. And then we felt we needed to have a laser focus on telling their whole story, not just the little bit that was part of the art project, but to really keep their voices alive. And we came up with this idea of messages from survivors because there was so much that we learned from them and so much that they said, and they're interspersed in all of these videos. You know, you should always stand up for the dignity of other people. And her mom said a few times, I want to remember, but I want to have a good time too. Pain doesn't come without pleasure, and happiness and pain are both important. And then her uncle said, you know, we imprinted on our children, the meaning of life is love. We valued life. And so we really wanted to create in a very digestible form, carry their stories. And especially now with all the research about how much ignorance there is about the Holocaust, to tell the story in their own words, you can't argue with that. That's undeniable.
Right.
And also finding a way to be moving with the story, but also give the history. So we wanted to create these small videos, but also have panels that we have, which are 6 panels that are part of an exhibit. And they tell the story, the personal story on the top of the banner, and on the bottom of the banner is the historical reference. So we're both, you know, doing both video and personal and historical.
While we're talking about the panels, let me share my screen because I have some of them pulled up so we can show everyone.
I also want to give a shout out to Miriam Kasanoff, who I see is here, who has really been a fan and an ally of ours from the beginning. She knew my mom, she met her through our work, and has been helping bring the stories out. Thanks, Miriam. Great to see you.
Yes.
Okay, so these are the panels, right?
Right. So this is the panel where you see on the bottom, there's a timeline, and it gives the history that we also give. It reinforces what we're doing in the video, which is really trying to emphasize the personal, that this happened. History is something that happens to people. It's not some vague thing. So, you know, that's a big message underneath this, and humanizing the stories that happen, the trauma that happened to real people. And keeping it alive and fresh so that people can understand and digest this.
Right.
And of course, this is just a little bit, just an introduction, but it's a way to, especially for people who don't know much about the story, and for people who do know the history, to get an intimate view from the people who lived it.
Right.
Yeah, I think the project does a great job of interweaving the history and the personal.
Thank you. Thank you. And there was a quote at the top of that panel where Anna said, you know, you asked why we didn't just leave. Where should we go? Which is such a pertinent question, was a pertinent question then. There were no places and for people to go. And it's a question now for thousands of, you know, millions of refugees around the world. So we talk about the lessons of the Holocaust and how much we have or haven't learned, but we can see the parallels. Hopefully people can make these connections and think about better ways to be.
Absolutely.
I'm unmuted because I want to talk to my friends. Thank you, darlings. That was just wonderful. It's good to see you.
Thank you, Miriam.
I'll tell you right now that that last part totally broke me up.
Yeah.
That's exact. As you know, I always said your mom reminded me of my mother. And that's exactly what my mom did with my dad. He would lay in bed because she kept him at home.
Yeah.
And she would rub his chest and she would sing to him in a Hungarian. And he was her baby until the end. She was not going to let him go. And I just sat here watching that and I thought, oh. But I'm so glad that I was able to help facilitate your being on the program.
Thank you.
Don't worry about the attendance. People are crazy in Miami right now. There's no school. So all the students that would have signed up are not here. But we're going to send the link out, right, Nikki?
Yep,
so that people can watch it.
Right.
And I'm just so glad that we were finally able to do something with you. It's been years since you were here. And I
Right.
also thank you for your support of my programs and your donations. That's awfully nice of you. But this is wonderful. I want to ask you a question. It's really chutzpah, but that's what Miriam's known for. Can I borrow that last piece sometimes and show it to teachers?
We'll talk about it. I'll talk.
Yeah,
to you.
I really would love to have that at
Right.
some point somewhere.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
thank you again. And I'm glad that I could take the time to come on.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Yeah. So maybe there are some other questions. Is this the moment?
Sure, yeah. Does anyone in the audience have any questions
Be happy to
or any comments?
Or comments. Just we're curious always to know how this work resonates for you. So please feel free to unmute yourselves.
Yes.
Yeah, we have Cynthia.
Amazing to see and watch those stories. And I've helped bring survivors to different elementary schools in Miami-Dade in the past. I'm wondering, again, like Miriam asked, can any of these be shared through the Memory Project at schools?
Yeah. Well, this is actually we just finished this this exhibit and projects, and we actually have to sell it because we need to fund it, to pay for it. So yes, I mean, the answer is yes, it can be brought to schools, and we're hoping to work, perhaps with the Miami, with Nikki, and to actually create some programming so that this can be brought to schools and centers, and we're working now with several different organizations who are interested. So we're hoping, like, if you get in touch with Nikki, we can probably. Are you a teacher, or are you
I'm a retired educator who's moved up to Delray Beach, 50 miles north of Miami. But are you all in Florida or no?
Well, we're in New York, but
because Florida, I'm assuming mandated Holocaust education.
Right. Yeah, we do.
Laurie and Roz, what I would recommend, if you haven't already done it, is to put together a 5-minute trailer, particularly of my favorite part, because then that can be shown for free.
Right.
But it can be used as a marketing tool that if you want to see more of that, then you have to do such and such. But that way, at least we could show a portion of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and also feel free to contact us. I don't know if you can do Lori at memoryprojectproductions.com and write directly to us, Lori, LAURIE, at memoryprojectproductions.com.
Right. Or just look up Memory Project
The
Productions.
university is calling me, so I have to get off.
Okay, Miriam.
Thank you.
Great to
I'm
see
glad
you.
we were able to. I'm glad we were able to facilitate this.
Sorry we made you cry.
See you soon.
I like your chutzpah.
Bye.
Always.
Bye. Yeah. Honestly, we cry still when we watch it. So this whole cycle of life, to see them young and see them older and see the love that's so apparent, it's very.
And for schools, it's really like, we really see it can be used in different ways, like, depending on the school, depending on, or even in the community. We're doing something later this year where they're doing 2 of the films each week.
Oh, that's
and then a conversation around it. So, we tried to create this so that it's flexible. It can work in, let's say you only have, you want to show 2 of these in a classroom and then discuss it with the kids, and then show the panels and discuss the 2 panels, and then move on and have a 3-week, program every Friday for the next 3 weeks. You have an introduction, maybe around Holocaust Remembrance Day or Yom HaShoah. So, there are different ways. We wanted to make it like usable in different ways.
Right. And the other, we very self-consciously design those panels so that they're scalable.
Right.
They could be just printed out at legal size and handed out, or they could be made as posters that could sit on a library shelf, or they could be hanging from a ceiling with grommets, or the largest is large retractable banners, like the kind you'd see at a conference that are about 4 feet wide by almost 6 feet tall, so that they could fill a little exhibit space. So we really hope it'll go to areas where maybe people can't get to the memorial.
Yeah.
Where rural Florida or rural North Carolina or rural New York, or places where people don't know these stories and have never met a Jewish person and have whatever opinions they may have about the horns on our heads, or
Right. I mean, just getting, seeing people for who they are and really humanizing this, making people aware. I mean, this is really what we just wanted to touch people with these stories, and glad to see that some of you we're happy that all of you were here, and then that you were responding well to it.
Yeah. I saw a comment, and I agree with the comment in the chat that a lot of us, we all really like the illustrations in the film. And I know that art plays a big role in some of the other workshops you do. Could you talk a bit more about the role of art?
Sure. Thanks for asking. Yeah, I'm a painter, and for the videos that you just saw, I used iPad to create drawings. And then what's beautiful about this program is that you can then export the actual each mark that you made on the iPad, so that you can see the work develop. And that's something that I really love doing, is to show the process, so you can see that nothing happens but magically by itself, but it actually takes, like life, things go through different stages. And and so here it came in very useful, especially when I had bad video or tape recordings of my parents, so I could actually narrate the story through art. And also it's a way to engage people, so that people can take in a story, but also feel, imagine maybe some of it. And the workshops that we've done over the years, what we do is that we developed a packet of survivor photographs, people who survived, people who were killed, people who were rescuers, different people who had experience in the Holocaust. And we give an art lesson based on their black and white photo and a story. And the lesson basically is turning the photo upside down, so that you're seeing an upside down picture, and drawing with black and white pastel just the movement of the light and shade, so that you can actually have a real art experience. It forces people to observe, and observation is another tool to develop in people, so that they can observe and see for themselves. So they both learn about the person who they just drew, but also have a tangible connection to the person. We've had tremendous success with this. People call it the magic of the memory project, because it so enlivens their classrooms or their experiences with adults, and another way of learning. That's been
amazing. What
exciting.
grade levels do you usually work with for those workshops?
Well, anywhere from 5th grade up. So we've done university, adult ed, and 5th grade is the youngest.
4th. We're in that group from Brooklyn. We're from 4th grade.
Maybe 4th even.
Yeah.
So we can tailor that.
It's a lot of fun. And it can be done in one class period.
That's fabulous. Teachers love that.
Yeah. And also they can, after doing that, they can do a quest of their own family, so that we have questions. They ask about a life-changing experience in their own family, and then they get stories and do a photo of someone in their family portrait.
Right.
So that gives them an opportunity to mine their own family history.
Right. And you can see on our website portraits that have been made. There are thousands of them from around the world at this point, and they're just startlingly beautiful. They're made in 15 minutes by people with no art experience, most of them.
I'm sharing the website in the chat right now, and I'll also when I email everyone the recording of this, I'll also make sure to include the website and also your email addresses, so they can reach out to you.
Wonderful.
Great. Now, my sister is here too, which we're very appreciative of. Vicki Weisman.
Thanks for joining.
Coming in from Massachusetts. You're muted, Vic. Oh, okay. She wants to be muted.
So, are there any other comments or questions?
Hi, sorry.
That's okay. Did this introduce some of this material to you in a way that was different for you? Just curious for the, yes, Maxine, is that you raising your hand or is that me imagining something?
Maxine is here.
Yeah, but you're muted, Maxine. Or maybe you weren't raising your hand. Maybe you were stretching.
Thank you. I wasn't raising. Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciated the thematic element.
Right. And you saw they had all those breaks between them because they're part of the exhibit. So when you're actually in a space with panels, there's a QR code on each panel, and you can just scan that with your phone or whatever device that you have and be in a space and see the videos there. And so all of them, they go from 4 minutes till the longest is just under 8 minutes. So that's why they had those kind of chapters. And the other piece of it is we made handouts that kind of are the introduction to the exhibit, because Raz's family had a shoebox where the old pictures are, all the family pictures that hid up in a closet. And so every now and then her mom would take down the pictures and tell stories. There's a little clip of that in the videos. So we created took 6 of the family photos and added some family history to that. And so you can come into the exhibit and go in the shoebox and pick one and find that person in the panel and have that personal entree into the exhibit, and you can take them home. So that
That's great. I love that.
Each one has a message and each one has a thought-provoking question. So we hope that that remains a talisman and the exhibit stays with people.
Great. Yeah. Any other questions or comments from the audience? I just had one final thing. So before we leave, what's the most important thing that you want people, hopefully students and teachers who will be watching this recording afterwards, what do you want them to take away from watching these films?
Right. Well, we're all part of history. That's an important thing. History is not something outside of us that's memorizing dates. It's us making the decisions that we make every single day. And
those decisions affect, have ripples that affect so many people. So that's one of the main things that we want people to understand. And messages, like they said, the most important thing is love, compassion, dignity, that we need to understand that we can create a world that has respect, is a world where love is the focus, or we can create a world where hatred is the focus. We have a lot to do with making those choices. So wherever we can make those choices, those are the choices we want to be able to make. Encourage that, give tools. That's what we hope to give tools for that direction.
Right.
Thank you. I see Cynthia clapping. It's a fabulous note to end on. Thank you two so much for joining us. This was a powerful and moving film and experience, and I'm so excited to share this with everyone who registered. So
yes, we look forward to hearing from them as well. Thanks for coming.
Oh, Cynthia raised her hand.
It was great. I will bring this. I belong to Youth Co-op, and I studied in Israel, in Rehovot, and I will bring these ideas because we have a Zoom with our participants in a school youth program. So I will bring this idea to my boss and see if we can contact you in the future, so we can have like a small Zoom. Wonderful. Thank you so much. It was awesome.
Thank you so much.
I wish you the very best.
Thank you
so much.
Bye.
We appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Cynthia, did you want to say something?
I had a question for you, Nikki. I had to miss the very beginning, but what is your title, your role, and how can we also get in touch with you?
Yeah, sure. I'm the Director of Education at the Holocaust Memorial Miami Beach. Okay. And my email address is just nfreeman, Freeman, @gmjf.org.
GMJF. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you again. I really, really appreciate this.
Thanks.
Thanks, Nikki.
So do we. So we'll be in touch.
Yes. Have a good day, everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, have a great day.
Thanks again, everyone. This was really special. I'm going to end the Zoom now.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.